This is a pair of Wollensak, not sure how you say it. No one knows because there's very little information on the company anymore. But they are portable reel-to-reel decks, and you'll see they have 7-inch reels on them. The one on the left happens to be tube, the one on the right happens to be solid state, but they came in all sorts of configurations using essentially this same shell and design. Tube, solid state, quarter track, half track, stereo, mono, numerous combinations. And they made these in the 50s right through the 60s. These could be found anywhere from hobbyists, people who wanted to get sound for their home movies. I've seen them in schools used, for speech classes and that sort of thing. The company, though, just seems to have disappeared in 1972. They were bought by 3M a few years before that, and just the name and everything was pretty much retired. The company also did a lot with home movies as far as film cameras, and that's probably where they're still well known today. And they were well known for lenses and things. But these recorders in the audio world are still out there. There's lots of them up online, but rarely do they work. And usually the issue is belts. And I made this video because I cannot for the life of me find anything, a service bulletin, manual, or certainly a video that shows how to replace the belts. And after doing it, I think you'll see why. These are the belts that were on mine, the one that was on the left in the previous photo, which you noticed was missing a couple pieces. I'll get to that. The one on the bottom is the belt that had been in there, stretched out after how many decades of sitting in there in the same position. Up top is a brand new fresh belt, and I was able to get that in eventually. That belt kit came with several different things, not just the replacement drive belt that I showed you in the previous photo, but as you can see here, if you look closely, it's not all of these, but in the top left, there's several belts that came with it. I think one of them is the counter belt. I'm not sure what the others are. I didn't bother putting them in. And as you can see, there's pieces left over. On the bottom right, that's the microphone that came with the tube unit. It's the older style mic. At the very bottom is the counter, which I took out. And to the left of that are some of the pieces, the bezel for the counter. And then there's a cable. Up top, that big fat belt, I'm not sure what that is, but that and the spare head cover came with mine for some reason in the box. From the buyer. I'm not sure why he had these spare parts, but those came with it. Here's what the manuals look like. Up top is the older style manual, which likely would have gone with the tube unit. Underneath, you can see is the manual for the solid state unit, and that's what the SS indicates. All of these had some number that was some iteration of 1500, 1515, something like that. And then if there was an SS at the bottom, you knew it was solid state. Up top, it says 3M. That's the later style of the list of service centers. The bottom, Revere, which was Wollensak's sort of a sister company, that was the older style before 3M took over, of course. And they even sent out a supplement to the service manual about one of the circuits. You can see that there, but they never actually told us how to change these belts. Underneath, you can see they did have some information. This was inside the bottom cover of the unit, and that shows just information on the tubes and adjusting for hum. And this is the inside of the lids for the unit. I'll show you what they look like with the lids on in a moment. The one on the bottom is the for the tube unit, which was a stereo, so it was able to play quarter track or half track, that sort of thing. And they have a handy black plaque in there telling you what's what. The one on top is the later solid state unit with the later style mic, but that one was only mono, the one that I happen to have. These are the other sides of the lids. And as you can see again, the top, newer style, bottom, older tube style. And this is what they look like with the covers on. Now, they should look identical, except for the stereo badge on the tube unit and the Wollensak script on the one on the left. The one on the left where that hole is, that's where the counter and the speed adjust would be. This is the back of the solid state unit. You can see they had 1/4 inch and RCA inputs. You could switch the speaker on or off if you wanted. This is the tube unit, a little bit more flexibility. And as you can see, there's that silver portion on the front, the lower part. You'll want to remove the screws for that. And then to get things moving, the screw that it goes with the counter, the bezel for the counter and the speed adjust, you got to loosen that screw. You don't have to take it all the way up, but loosen it at least. And you'll need to take off the head cover as well. And then the main thing that needs to come off that people don't realize are the two sides, the silver sides, and the bottom or the back. And once you've got those off, then things are pretty smooth sailing. Keep in mind when you've got the unit laying as you see it here, but with the back off, if you plug in the unit and try to test anything, it will appear like it's not working because the fan won't be able to move. It's not a very, even though the motor seems pretty robust, when it's laying like that, all that weight on the fan just keeps it in place and nothing moves. So you'll think, oh my goodness, I don't know what I did here. I'm getting nothing here. Now nothing's moving. Just, have it tipped up a little bit and the fan will be able to move free. The motor can move free and then things will work. That's my tip to you so you don't get confused. But inside the unit, let's have a look here. Once you get it all open, as you can see, I've got this all open. You can see how filthy these things are. You might as well, it's a good idea to probably get it a cleaning while you've got it there. So that's one of the screws. And then you can see under there, that's what you need to get to, that belt around that pulley, which goes around the take-up spindle. And as you can see, I'm lifting up. The whole top part is basically one big chunk. I'm trying to point out here that the that drive wheel for the supply reel, that's got to make sure when you put it back together, it's got to go just so right into place. And this right here has to go right into place. That is what is this fast forward lever. Make sure you get that right into that U-shaped piece at the bottom of that tract. Otherwise, everything won't go back together properly. Here's another of the screws that has to go back into place. It is to the right of the piano key transport controls. And then there's a screw right there, sort of in the center of everything. And then the third screw is right down here near the speed change lever. Now I need to caution you, that screw, I had to drill it out. That was not going to budge for whatever reason. And the speed change lever, to get everything up, you have to take out that cotter pin. You can see through the center of it, that has to come out. And then the speed change lever comes up. Make sure you set it to 7.5 before you do that, because that's the speed that I prefer. That's what I set it at. And the reason I caution you is I was never able to get that back into place, and that's why it's missing. And the counter was also missing because I didn't feel like putting the belt on, and it was a big pain. And I didn't want to have to screw the things back in, so I just left it off. So that is why the speed change lever is missing. It's only on 7.5, and the counter is missing because that was just all impossible to get back in, especially after I had to drill that screw out.